I think
And
even if
outside
Foden...
Hang on.
But my challenge to that is this. I understand it. But they did this in England to, maybe it's I'm an old man. They did this in England to Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney is the white Pele. Wayne Rooney is going to be our savior. Wayne Rooney is going to be the best player in the world. Wayne Rooney is going to lead England to glory. Wayne Rooney got stick and criticism for not achieving that when it wasn't Wayne Rooney that said he was going to do that. It's not on Phil Foden.
Well, yeah, but
it's not on Phil Foden to fulfill the potential that the media put on his head. It's not on Phil Foden.
No, of course. And I'm not saying that there's anything. Wait, but I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Foden maybe not becoming that guy, right? Like, just because a player is a good player, it doesn't mean that he is always going to be the best or be like the leader, right? He could just go out there and do what he does in a good system. But all that I'm saying is that people actually bringing it up and critiquing him and saying, well, if KDB is leaving in the summer, City need to go out there and get a player that can replace him, because Foden can't step up and do that kind of role or put all that pressure on him. I feel like that's a fair conversation, because right now, Man City needs him the most, and he's struggling. Like, he's not able to handle being the main guy. Because if
there's so many factors as to why City is struggling. I think even if you had Foden from last year, Player of the Year Foden in this City team, they wouldn't then just start winning games, because the problems aren't to do with his position. The problems are deeper rooted. The fact of the matter is, you put Foden in the midfield now, City is still getting ran through. City is still losing midfield battles because they're not physical enough.
You know, the irony in this is, due to injuries, and maybe I think as Nina spoke about as well, maybe losing 5% intensity because they've won so much, they're a bit bloated. You know, they're a little bit sort of full, if you like. Suddenly, if a system stops working as well, players stop performing as well. I don't think that's because footballers have become system players. I think it's footballers always kind of been that way. As soon as a team kind of loses a bit of its shape, loses a bit of intensity, there is a bit of a butterfly effect that comes into play here. I just think it's kind of normal.
Every good team has a system.
I just think people are going over the top slightly with it, in my personal opinion.
Every good team has a system. It's not like 20 years ago. Managers just went, right, here's 11 players, go out on the pitch, do whatever you want. We're better than them. We'll get through it.
But there was systems. As far back as I remember. I started watching football in the 80s. There was systems. There was formations. There was shapes. The idea that 20, 30, 40 years ago, 11 players just fucking run around doing whatever they wanted, it's a joke. I mean, people have got to research where Pep Guardiola's style come from. It comes from Total Football, which, if I'm not mistaken, started in the 70s. So the idea that football has been a system sport recently, it's just, again, it's the mainstream media, no disrespect, bullshitting and lying to us, and fans just rolling over and have their bellies tickled like a kitten. It's weird.
Well, there's only a few players in world football that you could say really it doesn't matter what system they're in, they'll still perform. I feel like a majority. I feel like I say like 95% of footballers are system players. Like, if they're not in the right system, then you're not going to get the best out of them. So
yeah, I think you've got to be a Maradona level, a Messi level player,
like a Neymar, like players like that.
Certain players, yes, they can just kind of, again. But even Neymar, you know, you think about him. I think you can get away with one Neymar in your team who maybe doesn't want to track back and will do brilliance at the other end. But any more than that, and the team's actual shape and formation. PSG suffered with it when they had Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi. They were never winning anything major in Europe because they had three players that weren't tracking back. I mean, it's just, you can't do that. It's ridiculous, in my personal opinion. There, there's going to somebody super chats and comment. Married on the moron here says Terry, Haaland is as good as R9. Go back to banking. So I didn't say it was as good as R9. You're lying. I told you before I'd pay your rent for 6 months if you could go a month without lying about me. I said he's the best I've seen at finishing since R9. So please, Maradona, again, I'll pay your rent or mortgage for 6 months.
Wait, but I have a question for you, Terry. On that comment, the best at finishing since you've seen since R9, like in terms of finishing, what, like tap-ins? Like why?
No, yeah, so I can explain that. So when it comes to tap-ins, I reject that notion that he's a tap-in merchant. I'll tell you why I reject that notion. The positions that he finds himself in, his movement, his ability to know where to be. And he hasn't just... The great thing about this argument is you've seen him do it at teams nowhere near as good as Man City. So he was doing it at Strasbourg in the Champions League as well. That in itself is a skill. And I think that's kind of part of finishing, putting yourself in the position to be able to finish that opportunity. And it's the volume that he converts as well. And he doesn't just score tap-ins. We have seen him score some outrageously difficult goals, even though the angles or the closeness to the line isn't there. The fact is that the volume of goals that he has scored in both Champions League, Premier League, and other domestic competitions, in my opinion, makes him one of the greatest finishers Europe has ever seen. I actually agree. There are other elements of his game that are, again, nowhere near fucking R9, right? Nowhere near that level. But I was purely talking finishing wise. He just finishes so many opportunities. Yeah, that's kind of what I said. Are City declining? Nina, do you think City are declining, or do you think they're going for a bad patch?
I mean, again, it's hard to say, but at the moment, declining, yeah, of course. From last season, it is a decline, but whether that is sustained over the whole season, we shall see. But at the moment, that's not a wild thing to say. But again, we've, as earlier, spoken about the reasons as to why. And again, depletion, the expectation, but also I just think as simple as the fact that Rodri is out. You know, you've kind of taken the nucleus out of the team again. And this time it's harder to sort of fill that void. It's harder because the players that would have done last season are underperforming a little bit. Foden, someone expected to step up, hasn't done so. And it's harder to accommodate for his absence. But yeah, poor. Declining, yeah. Whether it's for the whole season, we'll see. It's early to say.
I hope it is.
It depends. To be honest, it depends. It depends on the injuries, though. Because that question, yes, they could be declining, but
even with
City,
with
we always But with City, we always know that
they find
money,
a way.
They've got money. No, it's not even they find a way. They've got money in the bank. If they, the thing is, we're talking about City right now. City could have a plan to go in the summer, go in the January transfer window, get Zubimendi. Probably the agreement's already done or something like that, and they've probably got plans to get this player, and have a big January transfer window because they've seen, okay, we might be short here, here, and here. So they theoretically, they could fix.
I mean, I know that people.
But they could fix majority of their problems in the January transfer window. I don't think that's completely out the realm of possibilities. But at the moment, they definitely look like they're having some real trouble replicating or trying to find a plug to really stop that Rodri hole that's missing at the moment.
But then the narrative that City don't.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that, you know, the narrative that City don't always start out their seasons the best. I mean, is that different this time? That's why I've kind of refrained from saying that it could be over the whole period. Because you're right, they could go and spend some money this time. They won't be as reluctant because there are clear indications as to money needs to be spent across different areas. But yeah, again, Pep has shown time and time again that he's able to adapt to these situations. I guess this is a big test. It's the Pep test. Does he do it again this season? Does he find a way? Does he adapt? Do they go spend that money? Do the players step up? But even with the concern around them having injuries and sort of what lineup they would have put out at the weekend, well, that didn't quite happen because there was a lot of first teamers and there was pretty much a whole starting 11 there that, you know, that play a lot of games, that are senior players, that are considered senior City players that have been there and have contributed to winning the league. So you do have to ask yourself a question. Yes, okay, there are injuries. There are players that haven't stepped up massively, but yeah.
I can see what you're saying, to be honest, Nina. And the thing is, yes, at the moment it's kind of gone pear-shaped, and they do normally start a season like that. But the only thing I'll say in regards to City right now is, although they start the season a bit odd, it's more consistent than this at the moment. It is more consistent than this because you'd see consistent performances, although sometimes they might just be like, oh, you know what, City got done there or City got done here. But you can still see some sort of a performance, some sort of a oh, you know what, they could have won that game, but they got done there.